Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown, Northeast Trail Running World, week ending November 26, 2021. I'm filming here on Thanksgiving. Hopefully this finds at least most of you not having to work today and is able to spend some time with friends, family, or if neither of the above, just the ability and luckiness to get out for some good miles on the trails or adventure. All right, so I think this will be the probably last weekly rundown episode I will bring you for 2021. I just need some time to catch up on race preparations, event applications, permitting stuff, maybe applying for a U.S. championship. I'd like to get a couple shoe reviews done, maybe planning for the New Year's Eve special, and a host of other things I just feel like I'm just not getting enough hours in the day for. So it has been fun this year to bring you so many episodes. I don't know how many we've covered. This is probably, 40 some. I don't keep a tally here. Weekly rundowns just this year alone. And it's been fun to see what people are doing out in the Northeast region, to have an eye for gear, to have an eye for new races, to find some that weren't on my radar prior, to hear back from some friends who are RDs who put on events that mention, at least a couple people have told them that they found out about their races just through listening or catching an episode of the Trails Collective, and in some cases events that were really not too far from them. So I'm thankful that it's getting some coverage, that it's bringing some others some attention, some business, that's bringing our community together into a more collective whole, to really see what my slogan is, really that we're all connected by trails and what really brings us together. I think in a day and age where there is so much division, so much polarization, so much to be stressed about, anxious about, I think anything that can help show us the very real connections between us and bring us together is a useful thing. So if I've been able to play just a small, at least small part of that, I'm thankful. To all of you out there who have supported the Trails Collective so far, whether it be through sharing the post, liking the channel, sharing it in your own feeds, taking the step to try to share it on other feeds, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, whatever platform you're on. To those like Ellie, who started out with me and who've started translating some of these episodes into the podcast, which you can pretty much find anywhere podcasts are streamed now. To those who have donated as Patreon supporters, to those who have submitted clips. So much to be thankful for on this day, and thankful for what hopefully will come for the year ahead. I think one of the news clips I was just reading about this morning was on one of the new COVID variants now just found in South Africa, and just continually a barrage of so many things that are still unknown about going forward, and just kind of heavy lifting. In the context of coaching this past fall, to see the amount of anxiety, stress, emotional difficulties that some of the younger generations are dealing with, and the issues that they're saddled with, it's all really real, and it can be pretty overwhelming. So again, if there's a way to just focus on some of the positives, to have something to look forward to, I think we very much need to do that. And so thanks to all of you who have helped make this vision possible so far, and to all those who may help grow it in various forms next year. I would like to find a way to start covering some of the other regions as well. I need point people in those regions who might want to take on a rundown, or collecting some of the information from those regions if I'm to be the one to present it. Again, would like to take on more articles and get them out there. Maybe the ones that if you haven't checked out the Trails Collective feature article section, do that now, in terms of a breakdown and ranking of some of the toughest races, some of the fastest races, some of the most scenic races. We are blessed by a ton of wonderful events and trail sections out there. So a way to celebrate that and maybe grow it. So any who may be interested in coming on and assisting that in the year ahead, that would be awesome. And maybe we can connect. Otherwise, let's get into this week. So each week I try to bring you anything that's caught my eye in terms of media, some of the events that are open, registrations about to cap out, event registrations that may be about to open, some of the fastest known times of the week, which were particularly, I think, cool to check out in the absence of some of the events during the COVID window, and a way to cue us into some really beautiful trail sections that are out there. The events, just breaking them down from this past weekend, from results, and what's really turned into the bulk of the episode is bringing you voices from out on the trail, whether they be winners, whether they be first-time finishers, whether they be seasoned trail vets or newbies, bringing you really just that. I think the voices from the trail in these events. Hopefully you're drawing some insight, some connection, some wisdom out of those. And so that's what I'll try to keep bringing you each week that we do these as well. So let's get into this week. In the media, one that caught my attention was a beautiful short film on the World's End, which is 50K, 100K that runs in World's End State Park, a couple hours south of where I am in Pennsylvania. I volunteered at the event at an aid station for the duration of the 2020 event and ran the 100K this year. And I was really lucky on both occasions. It's really a wonderful event to be a part of. And as an entrant, it was a truly beautiful course and quite the adventure of a day. It's one that I often am unable to really partake in. Usually Dave Walker, the RD, and I both have events running the same day. He's got World's End, and I put on Cayuga Trails. Cayuga Trails has also been a fairly high-profile event historically, a very beautiful course. And unfortunately, we typically just fall on the same weekend or pretty close to it, so we're both pretty saddled. But was able to this past year, and I was thankful for it. Dave and crew released just a short few-minute video on World's End, some really beautiful videography that is rolled into it, and I am going to go ahead and share it right here. So that truly does capture a very good, I think, in telling snapshot of the course. It really is beautiful. Registration is open now on Run Sign Up, and we'll have the link plugged in the show notes. So it is one that does cap out. So if you have not run it yet and looking forward to a tough but beautiful 100K or 50K, check out World's End. If not, I expect you to see at Cayuga Trails, in my Cayuga Trails 50s, that same weekend this year. And then also a piece of media that I created was just a short, or like a 10-minute snippet from my experience running the Bold Coast Bash 50K up in Maine 2 weekends ago. And I am going to close out the episode here in a bit with my clip on that. So hang tight there. There were 3 fastest known times this week in the Northeast reported into the fastest known time .com website, and 2 in Massachusetts, 1 in New York. In Mass, Lila Gaudreau, 2 hours 54 minutes for the 21-mile Norwatuck Rail Trail, which runs with beautiful, it sounds like, vistas of the Seven Sisters throughout. Lila's mark lowers that set by Brenda Fortin only a month ago by 6 minutes. Keith Nadeau, frequent FKTer out there, 2 hours 3 minutes for the Battle Road Trail. It's a 19-mile loop through the Revolutionary War history area, including Paul Revere's capture site. Keith's mark shaves 25 minutes off the opening unsupported mark from May of this year. And 1 in New York, Kitan Lavavi, 4 hours and 39 minutes for the Ramapo Dunderberg Trail in Harriman. Covers 22 miles with 5,500 feet of gain, and it lowers Brendan Ferrara's mark from a year ago by 15 minutes. Etan also just entered the mix for my Breakneck Point Trail Marathon. So this is a pretty good stomping and training ground with an eye toward Breakneck in the spring. And it'll be exciting to see Etan throw down in that field May 1st. Or no, I think April 30th is the marathon. So nice work, Etan. All right, UltraSignUp Hotlist. I have a few here. In New York, one is a 0 Degree Winter Trail Festival. This is an event that's put on as a fundraiser for Trails Rock and to support the trail building projects they have slated for next year. It's a 5-miler running in Pittsford, New York on December 11th. It's 98% full with only 1 spot remaining as of filming, so that may be capped out. They do have 10 and 15-mile distances as well, which are in safe territory at the moment. In Virginia, the Freight Train 50K 100K runs in Farmville, Virginia on December 11th, also 98% full. This event makes use of a flat, fast rail trail, and in good weather should be a pretty fast course, so good for beginners as well as seasoned vets looking for a fast time. Also in Virginia, the Get Outside 8-hour running on November 27th in Smithfield. That would be this Sunday. Looks like Reg was still open, at least on UltraSignUp as of Wednesday at least. It uses a 3-mile loop course format, and the event is 97% full. I'm not sure whether they have race day registration. And then one other, one that is in my lineup of the most scenic races in Virginia on the Trails Collective article on that, most scenic races in the Northeast. The Grayson Highlands half 50K 50-mile running in Mouth of Wilson, Virginia on May 7th is also 98% full with only 9 spots remaining. Grayson does look like a beautiful course, known for just the beauty of the course, but also the, I think, wild ponies that are out there as well. I think Shan puts on a pretty good event down there, and now would be the time to get on it if you are interested. And then one registration opening on December 1st, coming right up, actually 2. One will be the new events that I'm putting on in New Jersey called the Highlands Trail Festival, which should run May 14th, 15th, between a 25K and up through a 100-mile. Some of you have caught, at least on my personal page, making some posts about that. Also a beautiful course, very, very rugged course. The 100-mile is ringing through with between maybe 25,000 and 28,000 feet of elevation gain. So that puts it at one of the top in the country. Maybe the top might be like second, maybe behind Quest for the Crest, maybe, if I remember right, in terms of East Coast elevation gain. And those elevations ratio down from 100K, 50-mile, 50K, and 25K. So I'm pretty excited for it. Permits will still be pending, but I've gotten good enough feedback and go ahead from the required entities to at least move forward. And so I'm pretty excited about that. We'll have information. Information is now live on UltraSignUp. That's the Highlands Trail Festival, and it should be live on the website here pretty shortly, and should open December 1st. And then another one that is changing the registration format this year is one of the oldest and longest running ultras in our region. That will be Laurel Highlands in Pennsylvania. Also another really beautiful course. They traditionally were using a paper check, I think, entry process, and are switching to a lottery system. And here to bring us in is one of the co-RDs of Laurel Highlands to tell us how that's going to shake out.
Hi, I'm Jim, one of the race directors for the Laurel Highlands Ultra. It's the week of Thanksgiving, which means it's just about time for registration to open for the Ultra. But we wanted to take a second to let folks know that after about 4 decades of people scrounging around looking for checkbooks and licking stamps, we've decided to go green. Registration this year for all races and distances will be online at UltraSignUp. You can watch the website, see when it goes live, get your registrations in, and then in a couple weeks we'll have our lottery to find out who's going to be running in June. Have a great holiday. Get your registrations in. See you this summer.
All right, so Laurel is a beautiful course and a classic trail race in our region. So if you're interested, hop on that lottery here when it opens. All right, let's get into the results from this past week, as well as bringing you a handful of voices from races that ran. This was the weekend of November 20th, 21st. There are 3 series events that I didn't really break down the results from if they were all available. One is the Fall Backyard Burn Trail Run in Fountainhead, Fairfax Station, Virginia. One is the Camp Fall Series number 3 in Mahwah, and one is the Valley Trail Series Winter Race number 1, which was a 5K 10 mile in Alpine, New Jersey. One in New York, the Green Chimneys Conquer the Forest Trail Run, I think ran, used to benefit therapeutic education programs for children with special needs. I wasn't able to find results on their webpage, but if it did run, I hope it went great and raised some excellent funds for a great cause. One in Virginia is a Crooked Road 24-hour ultra. Uses a 1-ish mile hard-packed cinder loop in Rocky Mount, Virginia. They saw a stout 185 finishers for what was their 10th running. That's a pretty solid field for a 24-hour event. Overall winner on mileage covered was Michelle Gray. She established a new course record with 113 miles, and with the top men's finish going to Mark Siget with 107. So nice work. One in PA, the Hex Hollow Half, 6.66 and 13.13 milers. Run over the meadows, hardwood forest, and pine-covered single track of Spring Valley Park in Glen Rock, PA. They had 34 finishers in the 13.13 miler, with Katie O'Regan taking the win in 1:49. She shaved 4 minutes off the prior course record, with Eric Furry runner-up in 1:51. In the 6.66 mile, Gabriel Rodriguez took the win in 51:03, just a few minutes shy of his existing course record from, might have been 2019. And Karen Rohrbaugh for the women in 1 hour, 12 minutes. Connecticut, CT TrailMixers, Fall Fling 400 trail race went down. It's a 400-minute event, 6 hours and 40 minutes, and I think there's some significance there. Ran in Southington, Connecticut. Results weren't yet posted when I checked, but here to weigh in is second place finisher and top dude on the day, Shan Riggs.
Hello, my name's Shan Riggs, and I've been asked to do a recap of the Connecticut TrailMixers Fall Fling 400. It was a great day for a race. My first time doing the Fall Fling. It was really great to see all my Connecticut trail running friends. Weather was in the 40s. I think they sold out with about 200 people on this 2 something. I watched a 2.25 or 2.3 mile loop. And the idea is to do as many loops as you can in 400 minutes, so 6 hours and 40 minutes. It was a nice course, one big hill that had a lot of rocks heading up to it, and then the rest of it was rolling hills all the way down. On start of the race, there were a bunch of us that went out on kind of the front pack several guys, Daniel, Lee, and Joel were the ones that I remember most of the day, going around with me, kind of exchanging places from loop to loop. Really didn't have too much of an idea of what the day was going to entail. I knew the record was, I think, 20 loops. So I was trying to keep it somewhere around there and just kind of keep up with the lead. As the day went through, I fell a shit ton of times, probably 4 or 5, beat myself up, but was able to continue. My favorite part of this race is just seeing all the people. You really feel a lot of camaraderie with people, being able to go round and round and round all day, and kind of getting a real feel for the community rather than being out in the middle of nowhere like we usually are with these ultras. And that's pretty much what I got to say. The day was looking harder and harder as they usually do. I think it was around noon or 1, couple hours left. The field started to thin out. People were dropping out. But there was a hardy few that were still keeping their feet going all the way through the end. I finished, had about 20 minutes left and kind of wimped out and didn't do that final lap, but was still happy with my 18 laps. And Michael, the race director, told me to hold on because it turns out that I had won the men's race. But apparently there was a woman out there, Johanna, who I hadn't seen the entire time, but must have been on the same loop and was about 1 lap ahead of me. So I'm totally happy with my first place men's race finish. Congrats to Johanna and all the other people out there. I think I heard a lot of people getting their personal bests, and looking forward to maybe coming up and doing the spring fling in the spring.
So Shan, nice work out there. Shan may have hit some of your radars a year or so ago, where he did a bucket list coast-to-coast run. Some of you followed along, and nice work on that effort, Shan, and over the weekend. Another one in Connecticut, the Tarrywile Half Marathon, an inaugural steep endurance event running in Danbury. True to their name, it looks like a pretty solid course with a bit over 3,000 feet of elevation gain and over some technical terrain. Of 118 finishers, David Martin of Hartford took the inaugural win in a new course record in 1:55, with the women's win and mark going to Brittany Telke in 2:22. And weighing in on this course with personal meaning to both of them, Amy and Abigail Hanlon. Well, I'll let them cue you into the personal connections here. Amy and Abby, take it.
Hi, Trails Collective. My name is Amy Jennifer Hanlon.
I'm Amy Jennifer Hanlon's daughter, Abigail Hanlon.
And we both ran the Tarrywile Half Marathon this past Sunday in Danbury, Connecticut. It's a steep endurance event put on by race director Brian Vanderheiden, who is a good friend of mine. He actually introduced me to my now husband, so I have a very soft spot for Brian.
I think we also have a soft spot for the course. She lives very close to it, like a mile, I think only.
Yeah, so it's where I began my trail running career, was in Tarrywile Park.
Yeah, me
so
too.
I know every trail in there.
Yeah, it was where my cross-country team in high school would actually run from. Not exactly the same course, this might be clear, but we would start in the same spot as the race did. And my high school cross-country coach was actually there running with us at the race, Marcia Turek. So it was really cool to get to run there again. Just kind of think back, because that was sort of the beginning of my, if you call cross-country trail running.
I do. So yeah, the course was at 2 loops, and the terrain was varied. About 3,500 feet of elevation gain, so pretty serious. The terrain was some pretty runnable stuff, like the part from Abigail's cross-country home course, but also a lot of rocks and roots. One thing Brian did do an amazing job was blowing the leaves off the course, which made in my opinion, it took 20 minutes to a half hour off everybody's time, because I run there all the time and the leaves are tricky. They're, you can't see the roots and rocks, and you just can't move on some, especially on the castle side. There's also a really old abandoned castle on the course, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
That was actually where my stepbrother Eric's son was stationed. He was volunteered at the race, going pretty ham with his cowbell. I think everybody who ran by him was pretty happy to see Elliot. I was too. It was a big highlight of the race for me.
And I think for everybody. Yeah, it was just my day was great. It was awesome that Abigail, my friend Marcia, her coach, was running. My husband Eric ran, and having Elliot volunteering was really cool. I went out. I had a kind of a goal to run a little bit faster. Everything in 2021 I've run has been just kind of slow and, just comfortable, longer stuff. So I went into this race intending to, pick it up a little bit. And I had a really good day. It was a beautiful day, beautiful course. All the people I love were there, so barf. So how was your day, Abigail?
It was pretty good. I think I wasn't trying to quite go out as fast as you were. I'm definitely in a part of running where I'm, just kind of gaining confidence on what I'm able to do. So I just want to have fun out there, And I did. I felt really good the whole race. I was chatting with people. It was really nice to get to finish and see everybody I knew and cheer for other people I knew coming in. So it was just a fun day for me and just beautiful out. And really, yeah, again, well done course. Brian always does such a great job.
Yeah, the steep endurance events are always amazing. Yeah, so I guess next year, if anyone's looking for a challenging half marathon, I think the winning time for men was 1:55 and the women's was around 2:20. He does offer a cash prize for, I think the men is 1:30 and the women's 1:45. I don't know who can get it, but there's a big cash prize out there, I think. So next year, hopefully some fast people will
for sure
sign up and try to crush it.
And just anybody, I think it's a really nice.
It's a beautiful
nice
course.
day.
It's in my backyard.
Yeah.
It was just we had an amazing day. It was one of the best days in the trails I've had in a while. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and see you all soon. See you on the trails.
Yeah.
So nice work to both of you. Amy has been a friend for quite a number of years here, and it's been fun to see just how her world has shaken out, as well as how Abigail has grown and come into her own as well. I would see her occasionally over the years as she was growing up at some of the races, and it's just cool to see them as such good friends at this point in life and running together. So nice work to both of you, and thanks for that clip. The Tuckahoe 25K ran in Queen Anne, Maryland, is one put on by the Centerville Crushers and the Algonquin Ultras. Great community. They ran their third year, and it was a solid field with 244 finishers. Nick Cruz set a new course record in 1 hour and 40 minutes, and Maria Miller, winner of every year run so far, taking the women's field in 1:58, and I believe it was her second fastest time, or just behind her course record time. Taking us deeper into Tuckahoe, it's an overall winner and new course record holder, Nick Cruz, finding his own in building into the sport, as well as finisher Elizabeth Erin, who had an awesome day out there, a huge PR, and the first official finish in her third attempt. So Nick and Elizabeth, cue us into Tuckahoe.
Hi, so my name is Nick Cruz, and I'm just a guy who runs ultramarathons nowadays, but I live here in Milford, Delaware currently, but in a little while I'll be living in Pennsylvania. So yeah, just a little intro and background about me. I've been running for maybe, I think 10 years now, 10 or 11. I started running in about 10th grade when I was in, I think, sophomore year of high school. And of course, like all of us, I love the challenge of running and competing and kind of seeing, getting out what I put into the sport. So I started long distance running in 10th grade and continued on throughout high school, college, and then started running, continuing to race afterwards. And I always, ever since I knew what ultra running was, I wanted to get into it and just start, getting involved in the community. So at the time when I learned about what it was about I think, junior year of high school. So I'd only been running for a couple, like maybe a year and a half. So I felt like races like that might have been too big of a strain for me. So I didn't decide to even get into that world until after college, like, many, many years later. But before that, I figured that I had the opportunity to kind of build up my base aerobically and as an athlete, just kind of build myself up before I even get started in that whole world. So that's just kind of a little bit of background about me. Whenever I get the chance, I'll race ultras kind of anywhere in the Northeast, Virginia, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, New York, kind of anywhere within like a 4 or 5 hour range of Delaware is where I'll usually go to race. So I eventually came upon, the Tuckahoe 25K. The race director, Trent Swanson, he is the go-to guy for all these races that are all kind of termed, they're all kind of given the term Algonquin Ultras, because that's the group that he's affiliated with and that he runs, the Algonquin Ultra Marathons. So I had never run a 25K race before. I had done races that were as long as 20 hours before this, but officially I had never done a 25K, so I felt like this would be the first race to start with, because Trent always has really quality races. He's got a lot of volunteers that are super awesome. They're usually runners themselves, and great race support, good aid stations. The courses are really, they're always fun and interesting, and just a great following of great athletes and a great community in general. So I always know when I sign up for one of his races, I'll get pretty much, the best bang for your buck, so to speak. So I decided to start with this one. So let's see, I wrote a couple things down because my recollection of the race isn't always stellar. So the race takes place in Queen Anne, Maryland, and it's got a nice mix of trails, some road, some dirt, and sand, but it's mostly just trails that are covered with leaves, so very runnable. Not too many roots or things to trip on, but you do need to be careful because sometimes underneath the leaves you have loose rocks and roots and things that you can trip on. I personally didn't fall, but I came close and rolled my ankle a good bit, and other runners wiped out it, I'm pretty sure. So you got to just be careful of that. But overall, really runnable. It's not super hilly in terms of elevation, but there's a couple, there's a lot of little small bursts, so to speak, of short hills that'll give you that nice challenge and kind of break up your rhythm and mix things up. So it's not a boring course by any chance. I think it's certainly a very fun course to run, and if you do it, it'll be a nice time. The course takes place during the day. It starts at about 7:30, and I think the cutoff might be like 5 or 6 hours, something like that. But it's not a race that takes place at night, so in terms of it being well lit, you won't need a headlamp or anything like that. As far as fuel goes, I didn't personally bring any fuel because I didn't think that I'd be out there. Like, usually I like to fuel or take in water or food maybe if the race is 2 hours or longer, but I didn't think I would take about 2 hours. I thought I'd be a little quicker than that, so I just decided to go straight without any water or food, which, depending on the person, it could work for you. But I know a lot of runners had fuel belts with water and gels and stuff, so that's always a good option too if you wanted to do that yourself. Let's see, I think there's a good bit I covered. Okay, so in terms of how the race went for me, I felt like I had a good day. My goal, like any other race, is just to go out there, get a good hard effort in, and continue to build my fitness and kind of, obviously improve, but continue to build my just overall endurance, because long term I want to be the kind of runner that can run 100-mile 24-hour races and even 48-hour races, and year after year I just want to build up my fitness and continue to just get all these ultras under my legs and things like that. So I felt like overall the day was a good day for me. Generally I don't really like to, like, obviously we always try to win if we can or get the best out of ourselves, But beyond that, I don't really worry too much about results. It's kind of like whatever happens, happens. But always the goal is to give my best and a good hard effort. So that's kind of how the Tuckahoe 25K went for me. I would, of course, I'd recommend it to anybody if they're looking themselves to get into the whole Algonquin ultra scene. I think Trent Swanson's a great guy to reach out to and talk to because he's a great resource and a really good race director. And of course, I I do all his races all the time when I get a chance because they're really quality events. So I think that is everything. So yeah, thanks guys, and if you want to get involved in any of those races, just talk to me or reach out to me or Trent Swanson, and yeah, that's all I got.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm here to talk to you about the Tuckahoe 25K race that happened last Saturday, November the 20th, in Centerville, Maryland. The Tuckahoe 25K is a race that's put on by Algonquin Ultras, so Trent Swanson, and the Crushers, so Tara, Kat, LT, and Clay. This is the third year that there's been a Tuckahoe 25K, and I have participated every year that there has been one. 2 years ago was the first time, and I wasn't really sure that I could finish the race. I had just done my first road half marathon ever, and I was like, well, a couple more miles and trails, so I just wanted to try it. And I was really, really proud of myself for accomplishing the distance. The cutoff time is 4 hours, and the first year I did not finish within the cutoff time. I still finished. It took, I think, like 4 hours and 17 minutes the first year to finish. And I just remember when I finished, I was crying because my foot hurt so much, and I think I had a stress fracture in it, but I kept going. So it was miserable. Like, I was so down on myself, and the running community there was so wonderful. They encouraged me to continue. So I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to come back and try this again the next year. So last year was, a very strange COVID year, but thankfully we were still able to have the race. So I ran it again. I felt so much better last year. I tried really hard. I finished the race smiling. I was so happy. I was not in any pain. I had been kind of building up my running, so I was working towards kind of speeding up a little bit, but I still finished past the cutoff. I finished at 4 hours and 13 minutes. So this year, my only goal was to finish in less than 4 hours. I had been working really hard at picking up my pace, eating healthier so that I could be in the best shape possible to accomplish that goal. On the day of the race, my husband told me that he would run with me the whole time. 25K is good for him. He has no problem with that. He's much faster than me, but he was really supportive in my goal of meeting the 4-hour cutoff. He stayed with me the whole time, and I was able to finish the race in 3 hours and 33 minutes, far surpassing my goal of under 4 hours. So to say I was excited is definitely an understatement. It was the first year that I earned my wood chip for completing it in under 4 hours. So I'm super proud of that. The Tuckahoe 25K is just an awesome, awesome event. It starts out at a park, like on a little road, and you go through the road to kind of help spread everyone out. And then you go through a part of the trail called the Lore of the Land, which is really beautiful. Then you go on roads for a tiny, tiny bit, and then you're back into the trails. And the aid stations were wonderful. Everyone is so cheering and supportive and wonderful. So you go through the trails, and there's kind of like a loop section, and you come back, and so you see the same aid station twice, and then you kind of finish running the rest of it. As you get towards the end of the race, there's a section that's called the Radiator. And the Radiator is famous for messing with people's heads because it's shaped just like a radiator. You go out and back and out and back, and you think you're done, but you're not. There's another turn, so you go back again, and it's kind of like, oh, there's people in front of me, maybe I can catch them, but then you're like, oh wait, there's people behind me, can they catch me? So it really just kind of messes with your head, and you just want to be done. It's like a 2-mile section of that, so it feels like you're there forever. The trails on that part are beautiful too, but it's just so challenging because you're already tired. It's, you know, it's 2 miles of trails and it's really close to the end, so you're looking at, like, I don't know, mile 12 to 14 or 13 to 15, something like that. So it's really like you're tired and you're not sure, you don't want the people behind you to catch you, but you're not sure if you have enough gas left in the tank to catch the people in front of you. Once you get through the radiator, there's less than a mile to the finish line, and just the very best people in the world waiting for you at the finish line. The Crushers are there, Trent is there. It's just such a fun environment. I never thought I could be a runner. I never thought once I started running 5Ks, I could run anything beyond a 5K. So to have such wonderful running community with super speedy people, be so supportive of somebody who's trying to do something new, to prove, like I was trying to prove to myself that I was capable of doing that, and to have people cheer for you when you accomplish your goals. I just have never met better people than I have with the Eastern Shore trail running community, with Trent, with the Crushers. Everyone is so encouraging and supportive that it makes it possible for people to meet and exceed their expectations, their goals for themselves, to prove that we can do hard things and that we can be successful when we put in the work. So coming up soon, the only other race that I have planned as of right now is the Algonquin 50K, which is again through Algonquin Ultras with Trent Swanson. That's coming up in February. Super excited for that, hoping the weather is a little bit warmer and less snowy than when I attempted it last year. So I'm gonna work really hard at doing the same thing that I did for Tuckahoe, and sticking with good nutrition, a training plan, going to training runs, and meeting up with incredibly encouraging people. So definitely check out the Tuckahoe 25K if you're speedy and fast, or you're a back of the packer like me. It is a perfect race for everyone. Thanks. Happy
and I'm always rocking with the boys.
So great job to both of you. Elizabeth, way to come back, and that is indeed a huge pickup of like a half hour or so. So that is awesome. All right, the Little Gunpowder 50K makes use of predominant single-track trails in Little Gunpowder, starting and ending at the historic Jerusalem Mill in Kingsville, Maryland. They saw 69 finishers on the day. The overall win went to Benjamin Lynn with a new course record in 3:54, with top women's spot earned by Erin Collins in 5:01. And here to give us a deeper view into the day is Sergey the Jorts Chepyshev.
Hello everybody! This past Saturday I did a very cool trail race in Kingsville, Maryland, Little Gunpowder 50K. The out and back course runs along the Little Gunpowder trail system that includes tidal marshes and rugged interior slopes. It is mainly single track trail with a few short connecting sections of paved roads. The park got its name from Gunpowder Falls on Gunpowder River. The name of the river, in turn, probably comes due to the discovery of saltpeter along its banks. And saltpeter, the mineral form of potassium nitrate, is as well known a key ingredient in gunpowder. The race begins and ends at the historic Jerusalem Mill and accumulates about 3,300 feet of elevation gain. That makes it a perfect training run. It was my third time doing it. Whew! Fast field this year. And a new course record in 3:54.52 set by Ben Lynn, a talented runner from Maryland. I was consistent in my finishing time and did it just about a minute slower than my previous year, making it to the top 10. The weather was kind of George friendly, with a little bit chilly 28 degree Fahrenheit start, followed by a warm up to mid 40s. As far as I know, this race was always a fat ass event. This year it had just a $15 entry fee, which provided very well stocked aid stations and a pizza party on the finish. I like to thank awesome volunteers, Algiron and his crew, and congrats to everyone who hit the trail. It was really cool to meet all my trail running buddies and share a trail with them. Next things I'm doing are Dirty Bird 30K by Brazil City Sports, followed by Big Woods 50K, a top-notch event from Big Woods Running Club. Trails and George, more trails ahead.
Sweetie, how was the race?
The pizza is great.
So you didn't fall into creek this time?
Which one?
You didn't fall into creek this time?
No, but last time I fell. It was dark. I slipped and fell, but it was just nothing. Just slide.
All right, so thanks as always, Sergey, for the clips, and good job out there, buddy. And then a third one, probably the most high-profile one in Maryland, the JFK 50, also ran. This is the now longest running, I think, trail event in the country. They were able to pull off, even if it had some protest against it, they were able to run in both of the COVID years. And so I think now they have the distinction of longest and longest running trail race in the country. Also, one of the most competitive events in our region and nation. Adam Peterman, Speed Goat 50K winner and Pikes Peak runner-up, led from the wire to finish 16 minutes ahead of runner-up Zack Beavin, and with the second fastest time in event history. Eric LaPuma ran in for a solid third-place finish, followed by Sean Van Horn and Justin Sheed. With 8 Olympic marathon trialists in the mix, the women's field was also pretty uber competitive. Christina Randrup went out and held the lead through the first half with Devin Yanko and Kimber Maddox in chase. Randrup faded a bit, which left the field open for Sarah Cummings, who was the 2020 JFK 50 runner-up, and Sarah Biehl to come into battle. Sarah emerged for the win in 6:18 with Sarah Biehl 4 minutes back. Devin Yanko in third, followed by Kimber Maddox and Christina Randrup. So, quite the competitive day. I'm stoked this week to have both of the runner-ups bring us deeper into JFK. Men's second-place finisher Zack Beavin and women's Sarah Biehl. So, Zack and Sarah, take us in.
My name is Zack Beavin. Recently moved to Boston from Lexington, Kentucky. I'm currently in Kentucky at my parents' place for Thanksgiving holiday. I recently came off a second place finish at the JFK 50 mile, and Ian asked if I would record for the Trails Collective, and I agreed because I've enjoyed the videos. So JFK 50 is the oldest ultramarathon in the country. I think this was the 59th year that it had been run, and they're now claiming, given the pandemic last year, that they're the oldest continuously run foot race in America, because they were in that weird window of November where things were okay for a minute, and they were able to get both their 2019 and 2020 races in. So I know that's a little controversial with some people, but it's still kind of a cool stat. I'm not sure if it's widely considered the most competitive 50-mile race in the country, but thinking through other 50s, I can't really come up with one that has as much depth as JFK does year after year. And so that was kind of the inspiration behind running it. Is I've had some fairly early success in the ultras that I run at Tuckahoe 50 and Strolling Gym 40-miler, but neither of them were particularly competitive, and more time trial type activities that left me wanting to compete against the nation's best in a more competitive environment at a storied race with benchmarks from history that I could compare myself to. And so I chose JFK 50 as my fall race and set my sights on training for it. The race is a little bit unique in that it is not a trail race, it's not a road race, it's kind of both. And the first 15 miles is on the Appalachian Trail in Boonesboro, Maryland. So you take about 2.5 miles just straight uphill on road before you dip into the Appalachian Trail. And from there you stick pretty much on the trail along the ridgeline for until about mile 15. And then from 15 to 16 you lose about 1,000 feet as you come off the trail down to the C&O Canal, where that's the first aid station, or first cruise station. And from there you hit 26.3 miles, I think, on the C&O Canal. And that takes you to about 42-ish miles. And then you dip off the C&O Canal onto some backcountry roads that take you about 8 miles of rolling country roads back to town to the finish. So I also was intrigued by the race because I'm pretty good at all the elements of that. I have a 218 marathoning background. I ran 5:03 in my first 50 miler at Tunnel Hill, which was just a flat, fast, like gravel C&O Canal type race. So I had that background with me as well. And then Strolling Gym was a rolling road ultra with, rolling hills, which were very reminiscent of the last 8. And I've had a ton of experience running in Kentucky, at least, on trails in the Red River Gorge. So I thought I would be fairly well suited for all three parts of the race. So this is my first time running it, and I definitely think I'll go back at some point. I don't know what year, but I think when I do go back, I'll have an advantage having run the course, because objectively I knew what the course was and what the breakdown was, but actually being out there and running it was a different experience. And one of the challenges I faced in training was trying to discern how technical the technical sections of the Appalachian Trail were, because I had heard stories that varied wildly, from not too bad to you won't even believe it, and it's huge boulders covered by leaves. The reality was somewhere in between. They were very similar to trails that I had run my entire life, so I felt pretty comfortable on it. Though I do think I could have done a little bit more trail work to prepare myself for it. So from the get-go, I wanted to go out and win. That was kind of the whole idea behind running the race. But from the get-go, I knew Adam Peterman, sponsored trail runner from Hoka, who's won the last 3 national championship trail marathons. I knew he was going to be a pretty stout competitor, and we kind of zipped to the front immediately. And first 2.5 miles kind of ran together uphill on the road, and chatted, knew a bunch of the same people, talked races, just it was fun to just be out there and talk with him. But it became pretty apparent pretty early that he was looking to run a little bit faster than I was early on, so he kind of scampered off into the woods, and I was like, if the only way I can beat him is if he blows up, because he had mentioned it was his first time running 50 miles. So I know what happens, 35, 40 miles into a race, and I knew that I needed to run smart to run my best race, so I just let him go and kind of resigned to the fact that if I was going to beat him today, it was going to be because he did something stupid, not because I was going to, try to have a Herculean effort to run with him. So from there, just kind of was by myself on the Appalachian Trail for 15 miles. Just blew through the aid stations. I had a Solomon vest on with a bottle of sports drink, a bottle of water, and about 4 goos. I was taking in about 350 calories an hour between all of it. And then was able to see my crew at the first cruise stop around 15.5, 16, right when we got to the C&O Canal. There I had a shoe swap set up. So they had a chair ready for me, my shoes unlaced, just blasted in and ripped my shoes off, put the new ones on, had a new vest, swapped my new vest, was in and out in 45 seconds, and then off on the canal, and ran the canal section about 6:08 pace for that next marathon. So I didn't feel super fluid doing that. I just never really quite felt like myself, like I usually do in those long, flat, sections of ultras that I found with like at Tunnel Hill. I definitely found more of a rhythm at that race than I ever did at JFK. But I fought hard, saw my crew a couple more times, swapped my vest in and out, so I never really had to stop for more than 2 seconds to get fresh nutrition. I debated between doing handhelds, but I'm able to handle a lot of calories and just nutritionally, and wanted to make sure I was fully fueled for the race. So I figured vests was probably the best option for me to just be able to carry both water, sports drink, and the appropriate amount of goos and stuff. So from there, it started getting kind of hard around 22, started getting really hard around 32, which is pretty early. But I fought hard, held on, and ended up finishing second in 5:35. I think I could have run 5 to 10 minutes faster on a perfect day, but there was no way. I was going to be running with Adam, who ran 5:19 for the second fastest time in the history of the race. My 5:35 came in at the 7th fastest time in the history of the race. So not mad about it. Ran the best race I could on the day, and Adam ran lights out. I had a great experience, learned a lot about racing an ultra versus just time trialing an ultra, and definitely think having had that experience will treat me well moving forward. So I'm not sure quite what's next for me. I've been thinking about trying to qualify for the 100K World Championships for Team USA, but I'm not sure if I want to put myself through a 100K road race. The thought of doing that so soon after JFK is kind of nauseating, but I'm sure as my body heals, that'll become a more appealing endeavor once again. So future is a little bit, don't know at the moment, but just happy to be on a break at this point and happy to have had a good race out there. So yeah, that's that. Thanks.
Hey there, my name is Biehl, and over this past weekend, I raced the JFK 50 miler. I placed second female in a time of 6 hours and 22 minutes, which puts me at the 4th fastest time ran at that race. Going into the weekend, I knew that it was going to be a fast day and just kind of a toss-up on who was going to finish where, given the deep fields of very talented females. So with this race, you can kind of break it up into about 3 different sections. And the first section is mainly on trail, some technical rocky sections, and you get a lot of your elevation gain in this part of the race. So in this section, I actually had a fall and I hit my knee off a rock. So for a brief moment, I was a little worried that I kind of had ruined my race with this fall, but after about a mile or so, I was able to run it off and didn't really feel the pain the rest of the race. However, I did take the last 2 miles of that section a little bit easier, just so I could get down the pretty technical descent in one piece. So after this section, it spits you out into the canal, where you're on the canal for about, I'd say, 28 miles or so, and it's flat and you can really get rolling with a good pace. And for, I'd say, the first half or over half of the canal, I was sitting in about 5th place. Hadn't really seen any of the other females for quite a while, so I was just riding out that 5th place until about mile 35, where I had caught up with some of the other ladies in the race, and within mile 35 to 37, I went from 5th to 2nd. And it was at this point in the race that I had got to the last aid station where my crew was at. And I was pretty shocked with the life that I still had left in my legs, and just kind of going from that 5th to 2nd place kind of so quickly. I was a little bit in shock and also very excited with where I was at and how I was feeling. But before leaving that aid station, I kind of turned to my friends that were crewing me, and I said, I have no idea what's going on right now, but I gotta go. So I ran the rest of the canal, like a few miles until you hit the last section. And that last section is some rolling back roads. It's about 8 miles into the finish at that point. And on these back roads up ahead, pretty decent in the distance, I saw the first place female. Her name is also Sarah, and I saw that she had a few minutes on me at that point, and so I knew that I needed to keep pressing, but I really wanted to secure that second place spot because I just didn't know what was happening behind me, and anyone can feel fantastic on that road section, so I just had to keep pressing forward. And I got to about a mile to go, and the finish line was really on my mind at that point, of course. And I got to thinking that there's something just so extra special about the finish line of an ultra compared to maybe other distances. I've ran my fair share of 5Ks and half marathons and a handful of marathons, but there's just something extra special about that finish line of an ultra, just so rewarding and relieving, and just this overall like accomplishment. So that's just kind of exactly how I was feeling crossing the finish line in a time that I didn't think was possible, and it was well under my goal time, and finishing in a place that I was very, very proud of. Just so much joy crossing that finish line, and knowing that I had accomplished something that I didn't think that I was capable of. And there's just something so special about this race. You kind of get the best of three different worlds with your trail and your flatter section, and then some back roads, some hilly back roads. So it just mixes it up, and it's super fun. And it was nice to come back to this race after last year. Last year was my first ultra at this race, and I happened to get lost and off course for a couple miles. So it was nice to come back to the race and kind of redeem myself with that, a little bit of unfinished business after getting lost and adding on 2 extra miles. So overall, this race got me really excited for 2022. And I have a lot of big goals. I want to get into some longer races and more competitive races like JFK to really push myself and see what else I can do. So good luck to everyone in your races in 2022, and thanks for having me on here.
So Zach, nice work. That 350 calories for sure is a pretty ideal load. I think probably more what most people can probably sustain or take in is probably more in the 250 to 300 range. But for those who can, on such a long effort, get in those 350 calories, it's pretty crux. So that's pretty awesome. And it was great to hear from the inside how the race shook out for Sarah. I'm glad she was able to bounce back from the knee crush, and such a phenomenal runner, still so young in the sport. And I will be really stoked to see and keep an eye on how both of them continue to run. And it was cool to see any number of people on my network now running also really fast at JFK. So nice work to all those out there. All right, events on deck this weekend, November 27th and 28th. The Storybrooke Half Marathon in Stratford, Connecticut, NCR Marathon and Half in Sparks, Maryland, Squatchy Leftovers Trail Race, Maple Leaf 50K, 25K, 10K, 5K in West Orange, New Jersey, Oxbow Ultra 6-hour, 12-hour, 24-hour in St. Paul, Virginia, and the Get Outside in Smithfield, Virginia. So that's what we've got going. I am going to take us out again this week with my rundown or kind of video recap of the Most Beautiful Bold Coast Bash. I will be checking in with hopefully different points of media over this next 4 to 8 weeks as I plan more for 2023 and get a hold of some things that I need to get on top of. Thank you so much again to all of those who have followed along with the rundowns this year. I think it's grown from an average of maybe 100 to 150 viewers a year ago to between 300 and 400 on these episodes. So it's definitely growing. Thank you again to all those who are supporting in so many ways. So I will catch you on the next round, whenever that may be. And hopefully you enjoy a few of the clips here from the Bold Coast Bash in Maine. All right, until I talk to you next time, see you. The Bold Coast Bash. This is an event that I've been looking forward to since its inaugural running, actually a little bit before, in 2019. I saw some images that they had posted online, and it just looked beautiful. The 2020 running, which I was in the roster for, was rolled over secondary to COVID, and so I was stoked to do what I could to make it happen to get up there this past, November, just 2 weeks ago. Logistically, it is a challenge. Set up in Cutler, Maine. It is probably about 20 miles from the easternmost portion of the United States, pretty close to the New Brunswick border. It sits right on the Bay of Fundy in down east Maine. And logistically, it is tough. It's probably like 4 hours from, I think, Portland, Maine, pretty much removed from 99.99% of the world. What it took for me was 90-minute drive to the airport, 2 flights, arriving in Bangor, 3-hour drive to lodging pretty close to the race destination, just a few hours sleep, and getting up for race day. So logistically, quite a bit to make happen for an event. But what I found was, I guess, all that I had hoped for up there. The footing is probably reminiscent of some of the running in the Adirondacks, maybe some of the areas of Pennsylvania or Roxylvania, maybe some of the sections of the Metacomet Trail. But what you're greeted with is a steady barrage of rocks and root jungle, some boulder climbs and slides, as well as some really tricky slick bog planks or bridges. Some of them act more like a inconsistent teeter-totter with their spikes letting loose, which creates not only trip hazards, but also, well, you're not really wanting to fall on a protruding spike. But with all that considered, I guess that just magnifies everything. So I'll take you through the course a little bit. The course configuration makes use of a 10.5 mile figure 8 circuit. You do it once for the 10 mile or the 10.5 mile, twice for the 21 mile, and 3 times for the 50K for 31.5 miles. So the course, that figure 8. So as you go through the first probably mile and a half or so, you're going through some fairly eroded, soppy, some bridges, some rocks, just woods. In about like a mile and a half or so, you emerge at the first of what's the pocket views of the Bold Coast. It's just a really dramatic, rocky, cliffy coastline which overlooks the Bay of Fundy. And when you first get there and you see this view poking through the trees, you think, wow, that's pretty spectacular. But really, it just gets better from there. For the next couple miles, you undulate through and around stream beds and columnar rock. It really ebbs and flows along the rugged coastline. And there you start really getting some more open views. You get the waves crashing down around the rocks. You get for us starting around sunrise, we get the sun rising up over the Atlantic and really just penetrating through this old, what feels like an old growth forest. So around, I think that's around 3.5 miles, you tuck in on the figure 8 and you get a couple miles into the forest proper. You're circling through to surround some of these bog areas, continuing to undulate. There's no major climbs on the course, but it fishes through, and you go through this what feels like old growth, like spruce or fir forest sections, which are just blanketed in this mossy undergrowth or forest floor. So I was really grateful and thankful to spend just running with my teammate and friend Ben Nephew, and we hadn't caught up in a while, and so we spent the first 2 loops just catching up and speaking to the dramatic nature of the course. There were several spots where he and I both just spontaneously just remarked just how crazy beautiful this forest was. So in that specifically, in a couple of them, you're just winding through this, again, moss-covered ground, this windy single track just flowing, and it's just gorgeous. You reach the coastline, probably somewhere around 5 miles, and then you start heading back toward the center of the figure 8 circuit, running along the coastline again. And along that coastline, you get these massive surge waves, at least in the morning, maybe being high tide, that are just slamming into the coastline. You get these plumes or rooster tails coming up over the rocks right in front of you or beside you. You get the sound of the booms where the water is pounding these coves or these caves down along the coastline in these hidden coves. And it's just spectacular. Certain sections where you're going up and climbing up and over rocks along the coastline, and truly dramatic. I think the first loop, as we were heading through some of the technical terrain, and me coming in with a relative lack of fitness, I was just thinking, man, I didn't think that I was really going to want to be out there 2 or 3 loops. I just thought that I was going to be beat down, wasn't going to have the fitness, and I was just going to be done with it. So coming into about 2 loops, I flagged a little bit. I have a tendency to just not really care about fueling. I just want to go out there and just whatever, just be in the day. And so I was just really low on blood sugar. Started to mix in some more walking. And I just forced kind of Ben to cut the cord and leave me back so he could go on and run in there for the win and just see if he could open it up on that last
How's it
loop.
going?
There's only one aid station on each of the circuits, and it's at the start-finish staging area. Full-on aid station, but there's only one every 10.5 miles, so you have to plan accordingly. So I fueled up with a couple sandwiches, some Coke, headed back out, and quickly energy came back and felt okay again. But what I think disconnecting with Ben for that third loop really be able to just kind of do my own thing out there. I was really feeling like the course was so beautiful that I would much rather just enjoy being in the place versus the race. And so that allowed me to do that. I stopped and took film, took photographs, appreciated coves, stopped at beaches where you'd have these waves coming up, and as they pulled back, you'd have all the rocks tumbling under, but truly just beautiful. So as I got into that third loop, with a couple miles to go, as I knew I was about to leave the coastline in the headlands for the last time, rather than being, I think, done with the day, I really started kind of almost immediately pining for the loss. I really just enjoyed the time out there, and I was bummed to have to leave that coastline for the last time. We also did benefit from having an absolutely perfect day out there. It was probably 50 degrees. We had the warmth of the sun coming in off the coast, a little bit cooler in the woods, but we got totally lucky. But this is also Maine in November. Day after the race, I'm standing at Claudy Point State Park, maybe 20 minutes away from where the race is held. This is the easternmost part of the United States. And this is the weather today. It's about 48 degrees. It's just been a steady rain all morning. It's blustery. And this is also just what you could get out here. The mandatory gear checks at the start line, this is why, and this would be a good day for it. The rocks would be slippery or slicker. The bog bridges would be treacherous. The mud would be deeper. And honestly, I don't think I'd want to do 30 miles out here today. It's just a lot tougher conditions. So it really speaks to how lucky we got yesterday, and really what you need to... There's that wind, and really just what you need to be prepared for out here. So I'm definitely counting my blessings. No less a beautiful place, but that much more treacherous. I'm really thankful for the Bold Coast runners for putting it on. It seems like a great small community. I'm stoked that they'd created this to put it on our radars and to share a little slice of their little piece of heaven with us. And so... Nothing but good things to say about the Bold Coast Bash. For any of you who it might be on your radar, again, can't say enough on trying to make it happen. And the hope is that maybe I'll see you out there next year. All right. Till then, see ya.